The next salon is April 16th, and our speaker is going to be Brenda Goldsmith, who's here tonight. She's the executive director of development for El Rio, and which you guys are not familiar with El Rio. If you drive down almost any busy street and there's a purple building, it's probably El Rio. They're amazing people there. So the topic will be your community, your health. Your community, your health. So I want to introduce Alden Carroll. I've known Alden Carroll for 30-some years. Yeah, a long time. A long time. And I know her personally, and she's an amazing person. And just, I don't know, the presence that she brings to every room is just kind of a big hug. Yeah, it's true. It's true. So, Alden is a licensed clinical social worker with 25 years of experience supporting clients from diverse backgrounds. Her work spans nonprofit clinics, the VA hospital, and residential treatment centers, including Sierra, Tucson, where she specialized in trauma therapy. So for nearly 2 decades, Alden has led trainings and consultations on stress management, trauma recovery, and self-care. She is passionate about sharing practical, nervous system, and somatic tools that help people prevent burnout, build resilience, and cultivate greater self-compassion in everyday life. She helps people shift from emotional overload to resilience, from tension to trust, from emotional pain to connection, especially in the relationships that matter most. I bring you Alden Carroll!
Thank you all so much. On your tables, there are some little teal bags, and I would invite for you to open those up. They're a little gift from me to you, and inside there is going to be a little stone heart. And so I'm going to invite for you to get the stone heart, and then there's also a little colored piece of paper. And so these are 2 of my favorite resources to offer people when I'm working with my clients, both coaching and therapy clients. And I invite for you to read the affirmation. I hope it resonates with you. My husband and I went through all of them and hand-selected each one to hopefully be inspirational to you all. And then we are going to do a grounding practice, which is one of my favorite things to do for stress relief, with the little stone. And also the stone is kind of like a worry stone. I don't know if you all have ever heard about worry stones, where you kind of rub the stone and it helps you feel better. But these stones are specifically for that. And they're also a gift for me to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And so I'm glad you all have had some food. I'm so grateful to be here with so many beautiful people. And I'm really excited to talk to you about something that is really the passion of my heart, which is helping people regulate their nervous systems, enhance self-compassion of themselves, and be able to have more balance in their lives. And so I'm going to be leading you all through some different practices. I'm going to be talking to you about different nervous system regulation information, so you understand, when I'm so stressed out, why do I notice it in my chest? Or why do I notice it in my torso? Or why do I get that clenching in my jaw? Or my heart starts to race? And we feel it somatically, which means in our body. And so just a little background. I know Joanna basically introduced you, but currently I have a private practice, and I also teach online coaching classes to teach people just this. And my goal was to take what I teach my individual clients, and I also provide couples counseling and family counseling, and I work with young adults and children. And I have taken a lot of those tools and made a program that is a lot more affordable than for people who can't afford therapy. So I love teaching this stuff. I practice every single thing that I teach any of my clients every day. And so it's what I live. I love talking about it. And the reason that I decided to delve into this is because of the years of experience of working with trauma survivors, people who struggle with anxiety, people who have had relational challenges. How I see how these tools transform their relationship with themselves, their internal dialogue, help them heal and feel like they can have kindness for themselves and start to kind of quiet that inner critic voice that so many of us have. And right now, there's a lot of stress in our world going on.
No, what?
I've just been laying on the beach, honey. Yeah, so I have a beach trip. That's one of my self-care practices, is making to go to the ocean. So one of my favorite practices is helping people to land in the present moment. And I'm going to talk about why that's really important when I'm talking about the nervous system after we practice this. But this is just an invitation of just landing in the present moment, right here, right now. Because so many of us, we have a little elevator and it gets stuck up here in our head and goes around and around with worrisome thoughts, or our laundry list of things to do, or the different pressures and stressors that are happening, or even physiological discomfort that we have in our body because of stress, or physiological discomfort, or a million of the things that cause pressure and constriction. And so the goals of this is to take that elevator and bring it back down into the present moment. Now, I know that for a lot of people, being internally embodied isn't necessarily comfortable for everybody for a myriad of reasons. So this is a practice to be in the present moment with something that is very sweet, simple focus. And so I'm going to invite everybody to go ahead and take your stone. And before we do that, I'm going to have you be noticing that. I'm going to have you check in with your stress level. And so Noah is going to help me out and put I don't know if you can see that. So it's a little wonky on the screen, but basically it's a scale from 1 to 10. 1 or 0 is peaceful, no stress, complete calm. And then 1 is no stress, alert, but comfortable. And then at the very top is unbearably upset. You can't function. And so it's kind of like a thermometer. So I want you to just internally note, where are you right now? Where is your stress level on a scale of 0 to 10? And I actually was seeing a young adult today, and she was like, well, can I have 10 be or 10 be like the really happy feelings, and then 1 being like feeling the worst? I'm like, good point. But for the sake of the fact that this is the picture I have.
How stressed did you get with that?
That's a good question. I was like, you are so wise. Let's flip it around. I love teenagers, so it was fine.
Oh, that answers that.
So I want you to just internally note where your stress level is. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 is the most stressed. You can kind of just keep a mental note, okay? And then we're going to check back in later and just see if there have been any shifts or changes. So back to the stones. What I'm going to have you do is really simple. It might seem overly simple, like why do I have this heart stone? If anybody knows me, I love crystals. So I also like handing them out to people. So this is an amethyst or a tiger's eye. I don't know which one you got. If it's brown and stripy, it's a tiger's eye. And if it's purple, it's amethyst. So you're going to take the stone in your hand and you're going to just tune into it. And just notice, what is it like to tune into the stone in your fingers? What do you notice about the texture? What do you notice about the color? Or if your eyes are closed or soft, do you notice there's a shift or change in the temperature as you hold it? Do you notice the edges of the shape? Maybe there's something pleasant that this stone reminds you of. And just tuning into how simple it is to just focus on this heart stone. And so you're going to just notice what it's like. This is a very simple practice. And while you have the stone in your hand, you're also going to start to tune into the support of the seat underneath you. maybe behind you, underneath you. Noticing the points of contact with your feet. And then I'm going to have you start to tune into your breath. Maybe your breath is in your chest and more shallow. Maybe as you're doing this, you have a little bit more expansive of a breath. But I'm going to invite for you to start to deepen your breath. Where with the next inhale, you're going to go ahead and inhale as deeply as you can. And then at the top of that sweet breath, you are going to pause as long as you can until your body knows that it is time to slowly exhale out your mouth. And then I'm going to invite for you to breathe again. Breathing in that sweet breath, oxygenating your precious sacred lungs. Knowing that this oxygen provides so much to your body. And with the next breath, can you invite in a breath that's just maybe a little bit deeper? And then a nice, slow, long exhale out your mouth when you're ready. And for this next breath, you're going to either breathe out like you have been through your mouth, or you're going to either hum or let out a gentle sigh. Whatever you feel comfortable with. Just intuitively doing whatever's accessible to you. And just noticing any subtle shifts or changes, any settling. Maybe there is a little bit more relaxation, spaciousness, expansiveness, or maybe none of those things. And so you're going to just thank your body for the breath. You're going to feel the stone again in your hand. And after your next exhale, or sigh or hum, if you have had your eyes closed down, you'll go ahead and just gently open your eyes, looking around the room. And now we're all going to just kind of observe this beautiful and lovely decorated room. All the colors that you see, feeling the support, again, of the seat underneath your legs. Kind of bringing awareness to your peripheral vision. What do you see all the way to your left? What do you see all the way to your right? And then in front of you? What's above you? Do you have awareness of what's below you? And just noticing what that's like. And so I'm going to have you go back to that stress scale, that 0 to 10. 0 is the most relaxed, 10 is the most stressed. And just take a note if there have been any subtle shifts or changes to that number. Has it lowered? Maybe it got higher, I don't know. But just taking note. So this practice is something I practice myself and I teach all of my clients because it is something that is so simple. And it only takes a few moments, a few breaths a day. And it regulates our nervous system. So, okay, why does that matter? Well, I will talk to you about your nervous system. When we feel stress in our bodies, I get really high tech talking about our brain, okay? This is our brain, my hand. Everybody always thinks that's funny. I'm like, I'm really high tech. So this is our brain. And my fingers, the front part of our brain is our frontal cortex. It is the CEO of our brain where we have logic and reason. We can follow through with directions. We can use language and speak. And it is really our, daily functioning. It's kind of the CEO of our brain. And then on the inside, my thumb, is the amygdala. And the amygdala is like a smoke detector on the wall that is constantly scanning to make sure that we are safe and okay. So what does that mean? Well, one time I was in session with a client and they were facing me, I was facing a window, and there was a loud, bright lightning strike. And I went, and I froze, and I constricted and I contracted and I braced. And then I kind of blinked my eyes. And they're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, did you hear that? And then I released. But what ends up happening in that moment when we have a perceived threat, quote unquote threat, an internal stressor, whether that is a negative thought about ourselves, a worry, something that we forgot at the grocery store, or bigger things that are thoughts that we're worried about, or relational challenges. When I do couples work, this is one of the things we talk about, is if you've had conflict with a loved one or at work, or you're facing a deadline, or you've just stubbed your toe, whatever it is, what ends up happening is the frontal lobe, my fingers, go offline. So the front part of our brain goes dark, like a light switch got turned off. And then what happens is we're in our amygdala, which is my thumb, in the back of our brain, and it tells us to do one of two things: to either flee and get away from the danger, or to fight and protect ourselves. We all know this. We've all felt anger. I hope so, because anger is sacred, but a lot of women are told, don't be angry, be nice and cheerful or sad. But we go into fight. I'm just saying. Or we go into fight. And if we can't flee the danger, or we can't fight and protect ourselves, we shut down and we brace and we freeze. And what I've noticed when working with all of the clients that I've worked with is that there's typically kind of a more wired in response. So sometimes when we're younger, we might just go into freeze or flee. But sometimes as we get older, like teenagers, we start to fight back when we're mad and start to speak up for ourselves. I know I sure did. Right, Mom? She's here in the... That's my mom, Susan. She's wonderful. Mom, take a bow. That's right. She did a good job and helped me get through all of that fight. So, or if we can't fight, then we freeze and shut down, because if we can't flee a negative thought about ourselves, or we can't flee a difficult conversation that we're having, then we go into brace. And I think brace, that freeze, shut down, it's one of those things. So oftentimes freeze feels like depression, sadness, oftentimes, or just being unmotivated, feeling kind of heaviness in our body, maybe having some constriction. Maybe we notice that, we have digestive problems. And oftentimes what ends up happening is we can't flee or fight, and maybe we've been taught that we can't fight, and we're socialized, right? That's another part of our nervous system, is we have the social engagement system that teaches us that, well, I probably shouldn't punch that person in the face even though I want to. So we contain it, and if we don't have ways to release the fight in our body, it gets stuck, and it causes different kind of physiological problems. So basically, when we go into flee, fight, or freeze, the different somatic tools, just like the grounding tools that we did, really help to start to, especially the tuning into the present moment and coming back to your senses, so to speak. It is my favorite thing to do, because when that amygdala is active and we're in that high alert system and our frontal lobe is offline, the lid has flipped off. We don't have the ability to problem solve. We don't have the ability to think our ways through it. And so oftentimes I'm talking to my clients and they're like, I just can't I can't analyze my way out of it. And I keep on thinking about all the angles. I'm like, because you got to do the bottom up. You've got to tune into healing your nervous system, regulating your nervous system by coming back to your senses, by helping to get the lid back on so that we get out of the high alert system. And so a lot of tools that I teach people, like the grounding and the breathing, is really helpful to bring the lid back on. So then we have access to the part of our nervous system, which is my favorite to access and be in, is rest, restore, and digest, where we're like, whew. So it's called the parasympathetic, and the flee, fight, freeze is sympathetic, and it took me 20 years and lots of training to get those right, okay? So if you don't remember, it's okay. But basically, these tools, the somatic nervous system regulation tools, are so simple, and they help us all to move through freeze. And there are so many beautiful somatic practices, but I wanted to just give you all a taste of what some of them are. And to be able to get our frontal lobe back online. So hopefully we can express ourselves, get support, talk to people. One of the things that can be, so just to kind of touch on each one of those, one of my favorite practices to help move fight or anger out of our body is to actually make closed fists and then do slow closed fisted pushes on the wall. Just back and forth. And if that's not accessible to you, that's okay. You can even just ball your fists. Sometimes you can scream loudly. Sometimes you can scribble on a piece of paper and rip it up. Oftentimes, fight and anger need some kind of movement and action to digest the stress hormones of, what are they? Cortisol and adrenaline, to process that and digest it through our body. Because if we have a fight response and we can't process it, it gets stuck. And that leads to a myriad of troubles. And so then being able to have some kind of movement, even if it's a rapid walk or splashing water on your face, can really help digest fight. So when you're in freeze, tuning into your senses, coming back into your senses, tuning into the space around you, sometimes even going through a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 practice where you look at, and you can sometimes even say it out loud to yourself, 5 things you see. 4 things that you can feel with your sense of touch. 3 things that you can, not smell. I know smell is one of them. Smell could be one of them. 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And then it helps to bring the frontal lobe back online. And then also, this is something that is one of my favorite things that I teach people. You can actually do, I don't know how this is going to work with the mic. You can do bilateral tapping like this back and forth. And you can actually shake your body out and kind of release some of that stress. So when you're in flee, you can do all of those things. But oftentimes our flee or anxiety needs action. Because I know that oftentimes when I'm talking to people and they're feeling anxious, they really just need to write like a list and like get it out of their head or journal about it. Or be able to move through it in some way. So that bilateral tapping can be really helpful as well. Or just going for a walk or moving your body in some way. Being able to sway or shake, even if it's just your hands. And so the bilateral movement, whatever way that may be, can be really helpful to digest and process, and also nourish your vagus nerve, which goes from the base of your neck all the way down to your pelvis, and that actually really helps bring back on the parasympathetic rest, restore, and digest. So there's so many beautiful practices, but these are just a few examples. And when we feel stress and we're not practicing self-care, I'm going to ask this question and have you can say something out loud if you want to, but you can also take note in your mind. How many times have you put yourself first out of all the people that you have in your life? I want you to just think about, is it sometimes or often a struggle for you to practice self-care? Is it really common for you to tell your friends and have a hard time practicing that self-care and same self-compassion to yourself? So I want you to just think about that, because I think that especially as women, is something that we're taught to do, is to be other-oriented and to nurture others first. And that's okay. As a very loving person and nurturer and a therapist who loves nurturing people, I also know how important it is to practice these tools that I teach people and carve out self-care practices to give me and feed that peace within myself. And another thing that I'm curious about is, when you do take time for yourself, oftentimes people will feel guilty. Like, oh, I'm being selfish. One of the things that when I was working with a client years ago, she was like, I wish there was something between selfish and selfless, something that was in between. that's not bad, like one way or the other, where we can have this balance of, I'm going to tend to myself, kind of that idea of putting your oxygen mask on first, so that you can tend to the people who are around you as well. And so when we are talking about self-care, it's something that I realized when I was in the social work field and working as a therapist. Ironically, I've done this training for therapists before, and so many of them struggle to practice self-care at all. And they just are giving and giving and giving. So whatever profession you're in, or if you're retired, I just want to welcome you to start to tend to yourself and refill your own cup. Put your oxygen mask on, guilt-free. Because if you do that, I always, people I talk to all the time are like, I feel guilty when I set a boundary, or I feel guilty when I ask so-and-so to help with this thing. And I'm like, are you doing something wrong by setting a boundary in a kind way? Are you doing something wrong by putting your oxygen mask on so that you don't pass out before you help other people? No, you're not. So if you notice that guilt is one of the things that comes up for you when you are trying to practice self-care, ask the question, am I doing something wrong by tending to myself and putting my oxygen mask on? So basically, I am encouraging you all to know, when you have discomfort internally, it doesn't mean you're broken. When you struggle with anxiety or insomnia, or, struggle to remember to eat or drink water, it's because of different ways that stress causes your physiology to contract. And so that bracing response happens. There's a contraction that happens. And so all of the things that I explore with people is, how do we allow some breath? How do we allow some expansion? And how do we start to regulate our nervous system in a way that is nourishing to us? Guilt-free. So as far as nervous system regulation, if you want to practice it after tonight, I'm going to teach another one of my favorite skills. But this stone hopefully will be a reminder. And if you lose it, you can use any object. That's the cool thing. I used to work with veterans at the VA hospital, and we would do worry stones, and that we would give them to them and teach them mindfulness practices. And then they would come in the next week and be beside themselves because they're like, I lost my stone. It's like, it's cool. One, we have more. I give all of my clients polished stones, and we do this practice regularly. And I'm like, if you lose it, it's okay. I lose my crystals all the time. You can use anything. You can use the texture of your clothing. You can use sunsets. It's really about being able to land in the present moment and feeling your feet, feeling the seat, being able to be aware of the space around you. Because when we get stressed, we really have a contraction experience. So oftentimes going outside and looking up at the sky is my favorite thing to do between sessions. I will orient constantly to birds, love birds. I love birds. My mom loves birds. And looking at the sky, feeling your connection to the earth, being able to tune into your breath. Where is my breath? Is it all up in my chest? Is it rapid? Am I even breathing? And then reminding yourself, okay, I'm going to come back to my breath. I'm going to come back to where I'm sitting, where I'm reclining, where I'm sitting or standing, and coming back to right here, right now. So oftentimes, especially when there's a lot of stress, that is a hard thing to do, because we're in that whirlwind of worries, that elevator stuck up in our head. And so just grabbing an object and just feeling it and breathing, it's magic. I do it all the time throughout my day, because when I'm talking to my clients, they're sharing some really hard experiences with me. And my number one job is to be compassionate and loving. And number one job is to be compassionate and loving, and also to be present. So I'm constantly grounding. And if I'm, I have this crystal bracelet, and I'll put my hand on my bracelet, or I'll feel my necklace. I'm very present with my clients because it's about having dual awareness. Because if you notice anxiety or discomfort internally, if you can also tune into your senses, it dials it down just a little bit. And it helps to get the frontal lobe and the rest, restore, and digest part of our nervous system back online. So I don't know what time it is, and I don't want to just keep talking if it's, can I get a time check, everybody?
6:38.
Okay, and where are we at, just so I have a sense? You're like, we are in the middle of Tucson in the present moment. That's right. That's really funny. Thank you all. I appreciate the levity about that. Okay, so I'm curious about, did anybody get an affirmation you're like, oh my gosh, that was so perfect for me? If you don't mind going back to the affirmations that were the little colorful pieces of paper that I hand-selected, because some of them I was like, this feels patronizing, or I don't like this one. It's very good. So if anybody wants to share, and if nobody shares, that's totally okay. But did anybody have one that you were like, oh, this is a lovely message. This felt really good. Yeah.
I'm a gardener.
Uh-huh.
And my grounding is always the outside and gardens and flowers and butterflies. And mine was, your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you could grow weeds. It was so perfect.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. That is delightful to hear. I love when synchronicities like that happen. Very cool.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Absolutely. Anybody else have one? Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind the thoughts.
Nice.
So there's a lot of permission here.
Yeah.
To maybe even dwell in that dark place for a minute, have those funky thoughts.
Absolutely.
But then get back to center and
Yeah.
realize who you are despite what's swirling around your head.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Hi.
Hi. This one was pretty good for me too. I'm always mindful to be practicing to have really an attitude of gratitude.
Ooh,
When
yeah.
something is, feeling traumatic or just shaking me up.
Yeah.
To find that one thing that is truly a blessing and
Absolutely.
that is good in my life. And one of the things that it just makes me think of something that you said, the difference between selfish and selfless.
Uh-huh.
I like to find myself being self-full. Giving
Yes.
myself permission to be
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you also remind me that that's what she said, and I forgot to finish the story. Self-full. And I love that because it's a balance right in between. Yeah, thank you so much.
So my affirmation was right for me because just this very day I needed to shift, transform something that I was feeling stuck in, a little bit of fear and a little bit of lack, and then I could flip the switch and find my gratitude. So gratitude can transform common days or moments into Thanksgivings, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings.
Nice. That's beautiful. Nice. Thank you for sharing. I was actually talking to my aunt who was visiting, who lives in Georgia, and she is a retired school psychologist, and we were talking about gratitude, and that there is this study at the University of Pennsylvania about how gratitude practices can lower anxiety and depression in college students. And so the assignment was to write down 3 things you're grateful for in the morning and 3 things that you're grateful for at night. And it really helps to also train our subconscious to focus that those things exist too, even if we are stressed, even if there is something traumatic going on. That if we invite in gratitude, not to dismiss the suffering. I am not talking about toxic positivity, like everything's great. I want to be the sunshines and rainbows all the time. And especially right now, that's not true. But gratitude is really transformational. And we can't be fully anxious or fearful or in scarcity if we are also feeling grateful. And it has a different resonance in our nervous system and our body. And so even if it's a really simple gratitude practice, one of my favorite things to do in the morning when I wake up, before I look at my phone, because it's always there, and it's a temptation for all of us, is I will place my hands on my heart center, on my chest, and I will just say, thank you for this resilient body. Thank you for this new day. Thank you for this bed and this house and this roof. And I love taking hot showers and, my dogs and my husband and my loved ones. And I just go through the list and just land in the present moment before I touch my phone. Because I've read a lot about when we wake up, we're in this space of alpha and delta waves. And that is prime real estate in our brain to train our brain to be oriented towards gratitude, towards a positive intention we have during the day and we want to have, because that part of our brain, we absorb information so powerfully first thing in the morning because we're coming out of sleep. And so being able to tune into gratitude, whether it is offering up devotionals or prayer, if that word resonates with you, or just positive intentions or thoughts, really just being grateful. And also, I think especially as women, we are, and people, humans, but especially women, we are taught to hate our bodies in some way. It's not the right shape. It's not the right size. I don't look this way. I don't look that way. Or I'm struggling with my knee hurting, or, I don't feel completely comfortable internally if there is discomfort or pain. But giving gratitude to our bodies, our precious sacred bodies, which are our best friend and our vessel for this lifetime, is so powerful, because then we take our power back of reclaiming a loving relationship with our body, and our body listens. So two of my favorite things that I go back to kind of exemplify or illustrate this, there were two different studies, I guess. One of them was a Japanese man. I think he was a researcher. Maybe one of you knows the actual, more details about this. But basically there was a study with a bunch of jars of water, and they were in the same room. And on one side of the room, the jars had one word, and the words were positive words like hope, love, joy. And then the other words were hate, envy, jealousy. And what happened was they left them there for 2 weeks, and I think the positive words possibly had people chanting or praying over them, but I'm not going to, I can't bank on that. And after the 2 weeks of keeping the water there, he took a drop of each one of the jars and put it under a microscope, and he expanded the image and blew it up. And the drops from the jars with the positive words looked like snowflakes. Beautiful crystalline structures like snowflakes. And the jars with the negative words looked like cancer cells. I'm just saying, I feel like there's something to this, right? And so there's that, and also there was this really great anti-bullying campaign at a school. And they had two plants, and there was a plant in one room and a plant in the other room. And the whole study was for kids to learn about bullying. And so one of the plants, they went into the room and they would say loving, wonderful things to the plant. And they would encourage the plant, and they would praise the plant for being so pretty and lovely. And in the other room, they would bully the plant. They would say negative messages, and they would say all of the mean things that bullies say. I know. What ended up happening? What do you all think happened? One died. Yes. Yep. The plant that was bullied died. And the other one was thriving. And they were getting the same conditions, same light, same water, same fertilizer, I don't know. And so I just think about the fact we are 98% water. If anybody scientifically knows that that's not right, please tell me. I think it's about 98%. So if you think about it, our conversations with ourselves, our body's listening and responding. So if we are to shift one simple little thing and start to talk to ourselves with the same kindness and compassion that we do others, our loved ones, our dogs, our animals, what happens? How do you feel if you start to be more kind to yourself? Thinking about, if I were to talk to myself the same way that I talk to my best friend or my puppy dog or my loved one, how would I feel? If I said the negative things, the negative inner critic voices that I hear to other people, or they came to me and said, I'm such a failure, what would you do? And she'd be like, yep, totally are. That's right. No. Everybody, this is the response is on purpose. No. I mean, maybe you would. And if so, you have my card. I'm just kidding. But you would say, that's not true. No, that's not true. You would say, you're amazing. I love you. We're in this together, whatever you would say. So if you start to if you start talking to yourself the way you would to a beloved pet, a loved one, a cute little kiddo that had fallen down, what would you do? And if they were crying, would you kick them to the curb? No, you would want to hug them and comfort them. And not all of us got that. Mom, you were very affectionate. I'm not talking about you. You were so nurturing. But not all people were tended to when they were kids. They were like, maybe told, knock it off. Stop being a crybaby. I'll give you something to cry about. That's a really extreme one that always horrifies me. But how do we offer the same kindness and compassion and gratitude to our bodies, to ourselves? And the shift, when we start to do that, is powerful. Oftentimes, I literally witness people stop having issues with their IBS. Their inflammation symptoms sometimes change. They're able to sleep again. They're able to not have clenching knots in their stomach. And we hold stress in our body. So these are some different things that I am offering as a gift and a perspective to be able to regulate your nervous system and cultivate a deeper sense of self-compassion for yourselves. And now I'm going to lead you all through my very most favorite practice. It's called emotional freedom technique tapping. Some of you may be familiar with it. You do not need to participate in this if it's not accessible or you're like, I'm not doing that. That's totally okay. It is a completely voluntary practice. I was doing this with a woman today who's retired, and we got to the end of the session. I was ready to go at like the end of session. It was literally 12:30. And I'm like, are you ready to do the EFT tapping? She's like, why don't we just wait until next session? I'm like, okay. Fair enough. That's fine. I'm not gonna push you, but I'm gonna get you next time. No, I'm just kidding. So this is a technique that you can find videos on YouTube, but also I have a little clip where I lead people through my kind of flavor of it. So because I am trained in EMDR and very aware of kind of retraining our nervous system and our neural pathways towards more positive thinking, I don't do emotional freedom technique the same way that you might find in videos, because it's a little bit different. So I choose a positive affirmation that we get to tap in. We're literally tapping this positive statement into our bodies, and the research has showed that it creates new neural pathways of these thoughts. It's magic. And science. And it's amazing when we do this because, as I'm talking, I'm just going to show you the points and then I'm going to lead us all through it. As you do these points and you're saying these, saying these positive affirmations, you are also accessing the different acupressure points from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective. I love acupuncture, by the way, and I'm always like, which one is this? And which one is this to my acupuncturist? They also help to nourish different acupressure points in the body. So the combination of this statement and these tapping points creates this really amazing synergy that helps to actually tap this positive message in. And so if you would like to participate, you're welcome to, but it's totally, you can watch if you prefer. And so it's really easy. You don't need to know what we're doing or where we're going. But there is one point that might be a little challenging to get because of the closeness. But basically, I usually have people do a tease with their hands and go in and there. So there just are rib points. And you don't have to put your arms out, but they're rib points. So anybody, you can stand up, you can stay where you're at, you don't have to participate. So basically, I will lead us through this practice. And that's right, you got it, Rick. Yeah, right there. So basically, I will lead us through the points. And I'll say, head, we're going to go to our head. And then the statement that I have found in the hundreds of people I've trained with this is, I am okay. Because that's fundamentally what we need to know, is I am okay. Because when we are scared, when we're anxious, when we're overwhelmed, when we're, going into catastrophic thinking, whatever it is, we need to know we're okay. So, basically, you will repeat after me the statement. We'll be doing the tapping, and in between each spot that we're going to be tapping, you will invite in a nice deep breath like we were in the beginning, pausing at the top of the breath as long as you can, and then a slow, long exhale out the mouth. Now, why do I say to breathe this way? Because the research is a breath that is a count of 4 inhale, pause 7, exhale 8. However, I've done a little experiment of my own with this, and it really is about inhaling as long as you can, as deeply as you can, pausing as long as you can, and then having ideally a longer exhale than the inhale. Yeah. And so the Andrew Weil Integrative Medicine Center did research specifically about the count. If you need a count, and counts are helpful. 4, 7, 8. And so for the sake of EFT, it's a little bit faster than that, but it'll be slow, but you'll breathe in, pause at the top of the breath, and a nice long exhale out your mouth when you're ready. And the sigh, the humming and sighing actually nourish your vagus nerve and access the rest, restore, and digest part of our nervous system, so that's why that is really helpful. So I'm always, humming around my house or having a big sigh, and my husband's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm regulating my vagus nerve. It's fine. And yes, I'm okay. Yeah. He does now. He just is like, you regulating? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so basically, make yourself comfortable. You can stay right where you're at. If you want to stand up, that's fine. And so basically, the points, so you have a sense of where you want to be, are here. And I'm going to try to do it and kind of turn around. Yep, so it's at the top of your head. And I'm going to lead us through this, but just so you kind of know. It's on the temples. It's on the inside of your eyebrows. It's on underneath your eyes. Underneath your nose. On the underneath your bottom lip. On your collarbones. On your ribs, so you can go out and then in. And then on the outside of your pinky finger. On either hand.
Oh, like that.
Sorry. Yeah, outside of your pinky, on the outside of your hand, pinky side. Yeah, so those are the points, so now you know what they are. And I'm going to lead us through it, so you don't need to remember any of what I just said. I'm going to tell you exactly where we're going, and I will lead you through the whole thing, okay? All right, so we are going to start at the top of our head, and you're going to repeat after me.
How far should you tap down?
As whatever, that's a great question, thank you. Whatever feels comfortable, because sometimes people will lightly tap, if that's more comfortable. Sometimes people will,
Does it matter?
No, as long as there's contact. And it doesn't have to be like a certain speed, just whatever's comfortable. So you'll start at the top of your head and you're going to repeat after me. I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing in deeply, pausing at the top of the breath as long as you can until you're ready to fully exhale out your mouth or sigh or hum. Beautiful. Yes, lovely. Temples. I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing in deeply. Pausing at the top of the breath. And a nice long exhale or sigh or hum out your mouth. On the inside of your eyebrows, I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing in deeply, pausing at the top, and a nice long sigh, exhale or hum. And then you're going to go under your eyes. I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing in deeply, pausing the top of the breath, and then sigh, hum, or exhale. Beautiful. Underneath your nose, and you can use 2 hands or 1, whatever feels comfortable. I am okay.
I am okay.
Beautiful. Breathing in deeply. Pause as long as you can at the top, and then a nice long exhale, sigh or hum. Underneath your bottom lip, I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing in deeply, pausing the top of the breath, and then a nice long exhale. I am okay. Breathing in deeply, and then a nice pause, and then exhale. And then if you can, taking your arms out and then folding them in and tapping on your ribs. I am okay.
I am okay.
Beautiful. Breathing that in deeply. Pausing at the top, and then a long exhale, sigh or hum. Beautiful. And before we go on, we're going to just shake out our hands a little bit, because after tapping, it's like, ooh, that's kind of intense. And then we're going to go on the outside of your hand, pinky side. I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing that in deeply. Pausing at the top, and then a nice long exhale, hum or sigh. Beautiful. Other hand, same area. I am okay.
I am okay.
Breathing in deeply. Pausing at the top of your breath, and then a nice long exhale. Beautiful. Shake out your hands. Maybe roll your shoulders. Moving in any way that feels good. Settling your hands on your lap and just tuning in. Noticing any subtle shifts or changes. Noticing if there are any pleasant or neutral sensations. And even if there are sensations that are not pleasant, that's okay. Just noticing any place that you might notice a subtle shift or change. Landing and being right here and right now. Soaking that into every fiber of your being. And bringing awareness to the seat beneath you. And you're going to invite in 3 deep, nourishing breaths at your own pace. And then when you're ready, you'll go ahead and open your eyes. And if your eyes are open, you'll just go ahead and look around the room. And come back to right here, right now. Looking at the different colors and shapes and objects and people around you. And I'm going to have you check in one last time to that stress scale. On that scale of 0 to 10, 0 is completely peaceful, on vacation, and 10 is the most overwhelmed imaginable. And I want you to just check in with where your stress level is now and just take note of it. And if anybody would like to share, which is not necessary, did anybody notice any subtle shifts or changes? Or your stress level going down? Anything that you noticed? I see some people nodding their heads.
Definitely.
Yeah? Did anybody get any number shifts? I'm always curious. Yeah? Nice. Yeah, like stress down. Nice.
Yeah.
I came in feeling pretty good.
Nice.
Now my body matches.
Oh, beautiful. Lovely. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So these are definitely practices that you can use. I put flyers on everybody's spot. There is actually a free class. It's a 30-minute stress reset class. And I teach a little bit more in that. And then I also have other offerings, so you're welcome to contact me. I like to have free offerings. I also, if you'd like support, you have my contact information. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. I have lots of free stuff on there, real videos. And I love to connect with people there too.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.